Muted. Madam Mayor, you're muted.
Darn it. Okay, from the top. Good evening and welcome to the October 5th meeting of the Greensboro City Council. I would like it to take a roll call vote to confirm attendance. Mrs. Hightower?
Present.
Dr. Wells?
Present.
Mr. Outling?
Present.
Mrs. Hoffman?
Present.
Mrs. Thurm?
Present.
Ms. Abuzawader?
Present.
And Mr. Holston?
Present.
I am here. Mrs. Johnson is not with us tonight, so we do have 8 in attendance. The council will be returning to chamber with a hybrid format at the November 1st, 2021 meeting. This will be a partial opening of the council chambers. Residents will be welcomed inside the chamber for specific items of interest. Attendees will be required to wear masks to remain in compliance with the Guilford County order. Voting will be conducted this evening by a roll call vote and by use of the electronic voting system platform via eScribe as council considers ceremonial and consent items. Each member of council must vote unless there is a direct conflict. All council members should remain muted to minimize distracting background noises. Council should request to speak by physically raising their hand to prevent multiple people speaking at one time. Council will verbally make a motion and a second. We do allow and welcome speakers to address council at the public forum meeting. Council respects the right for the public to speak about matters of concern that can be addressed by council. Each speaker will be allotted 3 minutes. Zoom participants are requested to mute their microphones until they are called upon to speak. The City of Greensboro is committed to promoting an environment that is free of discrimination, bias, and bullying. Thus, harassment, words, jokes, actions, or comments based on an individual's sex, sexual orientation, race, ethnic background, age, religion, physical condition, or other legally protected characteristic will not be tolerated. In order to be considered, written comments must be submitted online through the city's website, www.greensboro-nc.gov. We do have a consent agenda, which are items E1 through E10, that are a grouping of agenda items that are voted on with one single vote to expedite what are believed to be routine and non-controversial items. Any council member may withdraw an item from the consent agenda due to a conflict of interest or for the purpose of voting no. Items removed from the consent agenda for discussion will be placed on the October 19th City Council business agenda. This meeting does include closed captioning. Depending on the length of tonight's meeting, we will take a short recess around 7:30. This is the time for our ceremonial and presentation items. Item C1 is a resolution honoring the memory of the late Melanie Louise Hyatt Rodenbow. Ms. Abuzawader?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolution honoring the memory of the late Melanie Louise Hyatt Rodenbow. Whereas on Wednesday, June 30th, 2021, this community lost one of its outstanding community leaders with the passing of the late Melanie Louise Hyatt Rodenbow at the age of 65. Whereas Mrs. Rodenbow was born on November 30th, 1955 in Asheville, North Carolina. Whereas after the passing of her mother in 1964, Mrs. Rodenbow, at the young age of 8, went to live at the Presbyterian Home for Children, the Children's Home, in Black Mountain, North Carolina. Whereas Mrs. Rodenbow was the first female from Children's Home to attend college. She went to King College, now King University, in Bristol, Tennessee, where she toured with the school chorus and graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science and history. Whereas Mrs. Rodenbow secured funding from the Children's Home and a work-study grant from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill to attend law school at UNC Chapel Hill School of Law. She earned a Juris Doctor degree. Whereas Mrs. Rodenboe served as a public defender in Guilford County, North Carolina. Whereas Mrs. Rodenboe continued to serve the public in Greensboro, North Carolina, as president of the Parent Teachers Association of Wiley Elementary School, Peeler Elementary School, and Aycock, now Swan Middle School, and as president of the Parent Teacher Student Association of Grimsley High School, supported the Grimsley High School Orchestra Program, the Greensboro Youth Chorus, and provided leadership to Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts of America troops. Whereas Mrs. Rodenboe led the Greensboro Islamic community outreach efforts, organized letters of support in tumultuous anti-Muslim times, and hosted a traditional covered dish meal with members of the Islamic Center to break the Ramadan fast. Whereas Mrs. Rodenboe supported numerous food drives for Reading Connections, for the Second Harvest Food Drive, A Simple Gesture, the Islamic Center Pantry, and Bread for the World. Whereas she visited undocumented immigrant detainees at the Stewart Detention Center in Lumpkin, Georgia, provided health, legal, and educational resources to newcomers as well as chaired the board of Faith Action International House, the Greensboro organization established to serve and advocate for newcomers, turning strangers into neighbors, and she advocated for many other worthwhile causes. Whereas Mrs. Rodenboe joined her husband in establishing the Rodenboe Family Scholarship Fund for underrepresented minorities at the UNC School of Law. Whereas Mrs. Rodenboe was for 40 years a faithful member of Guilford Park Presbyterian Church in Greensboro, where she served as a youth group leader, an elder, a longtime member of the choir, a mentor to young mothers, a co-founder of the preschool, a frequent book study and discussion group leader, and most recently, as the founding chair of the church's Justice and Peacemaking Committee. Whereas Mrs. Rodenboe loved singing hymns, cooking towers of pancakes, ice cream at Yum Yum's Better Ice Cream and Hot Dogs, bird watching, cherished rhododendron blooms on Roan Mountain, Tennessee, and sunrises at Holden Beach, North Carolina. So therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Greensboro that the City Council wishes to express its condolences and offer its sincere appreciation and gratitude for the many years of dedicated service rendered by Melanie Louise Hyatt Rodenboe. Her legacy will be remembered by the outstanding contributions she made to the community. That a copy of this resolution shall be delivered to the family of the late Melanie Louise Hyatt Rodenboe as a symbol of the gratitude of the people of Greensboro. I would like to move this resolution and mention that I worked with Melanie on the Faith Action Board, and I just tell you, she was an amazing, amazing, dedicated lady. So I'd like to make that motion, Madam Mayor.
And I will second that. And we do have, does everybody have the electronic voting system up?
No.
Yes.
All right, then we will take a roll call vote. Mrs. Hightower,
Yes.
Dr. Wells,
Yes.
Mr. Outling,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoffman,
Yes.
Ms. Thurm,
Yes.
Ms. Abuzawader,
Yes.
Mr. Holston,
Yes.
and I am a yes. That passes 8-0.
And Madam Mayor, there may be someone from the family who might want to say a few words. I know several are on the call. I'm not sure if they wanted to unmute and say something.
And Mayor, I'm Bo Rodenboe, you know, Melanie's husband of 40 years. And just want to thank the council on behalf of my son Andy and my daughters Anna, Anna, Libby, and Mary Kate for this honor that you've bestowed on our wife and mother. Melanie never did anything for the recognition or the honor of it, but she was a tireless advocate for all of us, and I think that she still watches down from heaven over all of us and guides our actions to seek justice and act with mercy. And I appreciate and thank the council on behalf of my family for this honor.
Well, I will miss her columns on Sunday. She always had insightful comments and good words of thought. And I enjoyed standing with her at Faith Action. I know that she was a woman of very deep convictions, and this community will sorely miss her.
Thank you for sharing her with us.
Thank you, and we will make sure that you get the hard copy of that resolution. Moving on to item C2 is a resolution to support resettlement of Afghan refugees. Ms. Abuzawaiter?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas after the collapse of the Afghanistan government and the Taliban takeover of Kabul, Afghanistan's capital city, many Afghan citizens are leaving the country and seeking asylum. Whereas thousands of Afghan citizens supported American and allied forces, standing side by side with our service members, diplomats, and aid workers, serving as interpreters, engineers, logistical service providers, and more. Whereas thousands of Afghan refugees who need to be evacuated and resettled include women and girls, journalists, civil society leaders, LGBTQIA individuals, targeted ethnic and religious minority groups, former government employees, and others, all of whom are at risk. Whereas the United States has a historic bipartisan tradition of welcoming refugees in keeping with our national values and respect for human rights. Whereas the city of Greensboro, North Carolina, has historically welcomed refugees escaping war and political violence. Whereas Church World Service and North Carolina African Services Coalition, the organizations responsible for resettling refugees in this community, as well as numerous other community organizations and religious institutions, have declared their support for resettling refugees in the city of Greensboro and surrounding areas. Whereas Afghan refugees are currently arriving in North Carolina, including at least 250 in the city of Greensboro for resettlement. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the city of Greensboro City Council declares its support for the resettlement of Afghan refugees and hereby notifies the United States federal government that the city of Greensboro of North Carolina stands ready to welcome Afghan refugees.
Mary Kay, you want to make that motion?
I will make that motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Second.
And that is seconded by Ms. Thurm. I do want to say, I believe that is up to 250 refugees, and that is based on our current capacity. And when they are deploying the refugees, they are taking things into consideration like housing. And we all know that housing is a challenge, but that will be part of the equation on how many refugees we can accept.
Yes,
So,
Madam.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Also, yes, they will be placed throughout Guilford County. It's that the resettlement agencies are here in Greensboro. And, as we've seen in the news lately, a lot of organizations have come forth to assist.
Yes. So let's see. Mrs. Hightower, your vote?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for answering my concern around the housing piece of it, because I don't want to see what happened before happen again. And I hope they'll be closely monitored and protected. And with that being said, I'm a yes.
Thank you. Dr. Wells?
Yes, I had voted electronically. Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Outling?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurm?
Yes.
Mrs. Abuzawader?
Yes.
Mr. Holston?
Yes.
And I am a yes. That passes 8-0. And we are going to try to convene some of the service providers and other institutions who are interested in the Afghan refugees. We know that there are a lot of people doing a lot of good work right now, and they're doing it in their own silos. We, I think the city, are going to try to pull everybody together to see where there are the overlaps and the gaps in services and how we can help facilitate that. Item number C3 is a resolution declaring the month of October 2021 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Mrs. Abuzawader?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas during National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we reaffirm our dedication to creating a culture of safety and hope in our community where no one suffers the hurt and hardship caused by domestic violence. We recommit to doing everything in our power to uphold the basic human right to live free from violence and abuse, and recognize our shared responsibility in ending this pervasive problem. Whereas domestic violence impacts women, men, and children of every age, background, and belief, and is rooted in a pattern of power and control. Whereas physical marks and scars are often the most obvious sign of harm, however, the extent of the pain goes much deeper and can impact one's mental, physical, emotional, and financial health. Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has intensified the pressures that couples and families experience, the need for full community engagement to support those who are hurting, and being hurt is paramount as the incidence of violence and abuse and domestic violence related homicides are on the rise. Whereas the Guilford County Family Justice Center has been a beacon of light during the pandemic, remaining open and assisting over 15,000 individuals in person through coordination, and also essential services, including advocacy, law enforcement, and civil legal services. Whereas children and older adults impacted by domestic violence are even more isolated because of the pandemic, creating an even greater need for innovative collaborations like the FJC's Pathways and Camp Hope program for children, and the FJC's Elder Justice Committee Coordinated Community Response. Whereas in a community partnership, the FJC has successfully brought together 17 agencies in one place to provide victims with easier access to comprehensive resources. This diverse and unique partnership provides hope and healing to victims of abuse and works diligently to hold offenders accountable. Whereas since the opening of the Family Justice Center in mid-June of 2015, over 50,000 residents have been served. And on average, an individual will work with 5 different organizations when visiting the FJC for the first time. Whereas by working together, getting involved, and through promoting awareness, we can restore hope, stop the violence, and make our community safer for everyone. And now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Greensboro that it does hereby declare the month of October 2021 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and urges residents to increase their awareness and education of this destructive force, which deeply affects many families in our state and local community each year, and it become part of the efforts to stop violence in families. I'd like to move that resolution, Madam Mayor.
Moved by Ms. Abuzawader
Second.
and seconded by Dr. Wells. Mrs. Hightower?
Yes.
Dr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Outling?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurm?
Yes.
Mrs. Abuzawader?
Yes.
Mr. Holston?
Yes.
And I am a yes. That passes 8-0. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I believe Catherine Johnson is here, or someone
Catherine,
representing.
Catherine.
Sonia, I believe her.
Yes, Sonia.
Okay, good evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Councilmember Abuzawader and all of council for welcoming us back again. I'm in the room safely with just a few people. Sonia Desai, who is the supervisor over the Family Justice Center in Greensboro, Sergeant Dale Nix, who oversees the Greensboro Police Department's Family Victims Unit that is housed at the Family Justice Center, and then one of the FJC navigators, Gabby Marcosia, who is here. And then we have multiple partners who are tuning in from home. Once upon a time, we would have brought a big group together, but we don't do that these days for lots of reasons. But I just wanted to take a moment to just share a few thoughts. And I know this is an annual opportunity to recognize Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and also for me to share just a little bit about our work and what's currently going on. Is that okay, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we, have been on this incredible journey here in Guilford County and in Greensboro, creating a multi-directional place of resource and hope. And we are working hard to meet the needs of children of abuse and domestic violence, sexual violence, stalking, and elder abuse. And at the Family Justice Center, we really see ourselves as being a homicide prevention initiative that provides resources and works to hold offenders of these crimes accountable. And as Councilmember Abuzawader read, we've helped over 50,000 individuals since the center opened, and that number is tremendous. But we also know that that number represents 50,000 stories. And if we are to think about the people that live in homes with those survivors and how huge that impact here is right here in Greensboro. And we know that the only way we can address complex challenges is through partnership and complex solutions, and are proud of the work that we're doing together with the city of Greensboro and lots of partners throughout Guilford County to work together. Last night I spoke at the Purple Tree Lighting, which is this year was the 7th annual event that the Commission on the Status of Women put together, and it's always a wonderful event. And I talked about 4 kind of things that we're dealing with, and I know I spoke with council in June as well. The first challenge that I see in this next year of thinking about Domestic Violence Awareness Month is the first being the lack of long-term solutions for survivors. Where are they getting hope and healing beyond the crisis? We know emergency response is not enough. And so how do we challenge ourselves as systems? And I mean big systems, not just the systems of crisis response, to think about what full and ongoing care looks like to families experiencing violence and abuse. The second is that we continue to see major gaps in the criminal justice system, which allows offenders to get away with crimes. The lack of accountability is breeding future violence and fueling offenders' thought that they are in control. The third is that the burnout rate amongst those on the front line, and I think this has been even more exacerbated since I talked with you all in June, is just astronomical. People on the front lines are worn out. And this is during a time when the demand for services is on a rapid incline. The intensity of what's happening to members of our community is really, really bad. And those services and resources aren't increasing. As a matter of fact, due to high turnover and lots of vacancies in services like law enforcement, legal services, advocacy, partners are being forced to do much more with a lot less. And that's a real concern when you see folks leaving their careers to go and do something totally different. When we lose someone of 10 years of experience and start with someone with 1 month, that's a big impact to the safety of our community. And so I'm appreciative of the partners in this room and the partners that come to work every day, because I know what they're dealing with. Caseloads are busting, and I know that's happening across all disciplines, but the safety and health of our community is really important. And then the final thing I shared last night is just the general low level of understanding of how deep and wide the problem is. Far too often we classify domestic violence as an issue of private violence, when we know this is a public health and safety issue, and COVID again has just blown that even bigger. So as I think about that, and as just in closing, I know that we continue to navigate hard things, which we're in hard times, through partnership, through awareness, through accountability, and through full community engagement. So it's on all of us because it impacts all of us. So I want to thank you for this recognition. I want to thank the helpers. I want to thank the leaders. I want to thank the doers, because we need more people doing, and just appreciate the opportunity to be in partnership with the city of Greensboro in this capacity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine. We appreciate the good work that you and all your colleagues do every single day. We will now move on to item number C4, which is a resolution recognizing the achievements of North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University track and field team members in the Summer Olympics held in 2021 in Tokyo, Japan. Mrs. Hightower.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And certainly this resolution is presented by myself and Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, even though she's not able to be with us tonight, but she is in 100% support. Whereas the worldwide pandemic canceled many outdoor seasonal competitions and postponed the 2020 Summer Olympics in 2021 to 2021. Whereas 4 track athletes from the North Carolina Agricultural and Technical NCA&T State University qualified to try out for the United States of America USA Olympic Trials, and 2 members qualified to represent the USA in the 2021 Summer Olympic Games. Whereas track and field teammates Trevor Stewart and Randolph Ross Jr. became North Carolina A&T's first, I repeat, first Olympic gold medalist in the men's 4x400 meter relay in Tokyo, Japan. Whereas the men's team posted the fastest time in both preliminary heats with a time of 2 minutes and 57 seconds recorded as the fastest preliminary heat in Olympic history. Whereas this event marked the first time 2 North Carolina A&T athletes competed on the same team for a single Olympic event. Whereas Stewart and Ross are the first Olympians from North Carolina A&T since Troy Douglas and Ruth Morris competed in the 1992 Barcelona Games. Whereas Trevor Stewart was also the first Aggie to earn an Olympic medal for the United States, securing bronze in the inaugural mixed 4x400 meter relay, and became the first athlete from a historically Black college or university, HBCU, to medal in the 2021 Summer Olympic Games. Whereas the City Council wishes to extend their congratulations to Trevor Stewart and Randolph Ross Jr. of the North Carolina A&T men track and field team for their notable achievements in the 2021 Summer Olympic Games in Tokyo, Japan. And now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Greensboro that it hereby recognizes Trevor Stewart and Randolph Ross Jr. of the North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University track and field men's team for their successes in the 2021 Tokyo Olympics and for representing North Carolina A&T State University, the City of Greensboro, the State of North Carolina, and the United States of America with their historic accomplishments. Congratulations, and I move the item.
Thank you, Mrs. Hightower. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Wells. Let's see, Mrs. Hightower,
Yes.
Dr. Wells,
Yes.
Mr. Outley,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mrs. Thurm,
Yes.
Mrs. Abusawader,
Yes.
Mr. Holston,
Yes.
and I am a yes. That passes 8-0.
So,
We do
Madam
have
Mayor,
speakers.
we do have speakers. Okay.
We do.
Thank you.
If they would like to unmute their microphones and put on their videos, we would I believe we have, bear with me 1 minute.
Yes, ma'am. This is Coach Ross.
Yes. Mr. Hilton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We are joined by head coach Randolph Ross, who will speak for the team, but on behalf of the Department of Athletics, we are so grateful for this generous recognition and so excited for the success of our young men in our track program and how they represented us in the United States in this year's Summer Olympics. Coach Ross, are you available?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much for that. And Madam Mayor, thank you as well, Ms. Hightower and the other council members. We are very proud of these young men. They worked hard. They are also honor students in the classroom. So they're doing their part on the track and in the classroom. So thank you so much for this honor. I'll make sure I pass it along to Mr. Stewart, who wasn't able to join us this afternoon. But my son is on, Randolph Ross. If he wants to thank you personally, he is welcome to do so.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome.
I'm just getting back from practice, so I'm sorry. But I do want to thank everybody in the Greensboro area and on the meeting as well for all the support. And we will continue to do our best in representing the country and North Carolina A&T as well as the state of Greensboro. Well, city of Greensboro, sorry.
Thank you.
We just want to congratulate you for your great run, no pun intended. And welcome back. We'll be happy to see you in the city. And I'll just say, hashtag Aggies do.
So congratulations to Trevor and Randolph. First, for your accomplishments on and off the field. Aggies do, and Aggies have done well all across this country. And so thankful that you have joined your fellow Aggies in the past for outstanding accomplishments. And this is historic. So I'm very proud to be living in this city with the #1 HBCU, who's got 2 #1 Olympians, as well as many other sports participants. And I just want to say it's a great recognition. It's my honor to recognize you all for the great work you do and the way you represent our community. We are so proud of you. And so thank you for being here with us today. And I'll make sure you get these resolutions for both of you. But Coach, I would like to see you put it on the wall there in the Hall of Fame down the hall so we can see, so everybody can come and see it. So,
Yes, ma'am. I'll make sure we do that.
all right, perfect.
Thank you so much.
And I
Thank
did get it. I attended the reception for the honoring those students for their accomplishments. And we just have our hats off to the coach and to that team over there at A&T. You made us really, really proud. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item C5 is a resolution of the Greensboro City Council proclaiming the week of October 10th through October 16th, 2021 as Neighborhood Development Code Enforcement Officers Appreciation Week in Greensboro. Mrs. Thurm?
Whereas code enforcement officers provide for the safety, health, and welfare of the citizens in this community through the enforcement of building codes and regulations, zoning rules, building code violations, building inspection reports, abatement orders, construction permits, occupancy permits, animal control, fire safety, environmental, and other codes and ordinances. Whereas code enforcement officers are often not credited for the jobs that they do in saving lives and improving neighborhoods. Whereas every day, assisted by support and program staff, they attempt to provide quality customer service to the public for the betterment of the community. Whereas too many times their efforts go unnoticed, even after code compliance has been accomplished due to their efforts and expertise. Whereas code enforcement officers are dedicated and well-trained and highly responsible individuals who take their jobs seriously and are proud of their department and the local government in which they serve. Whereas the City of Greensboro's code enforcement officers are dedicated professionals who serve with pride and integrity and work tirelessly to help residents obtain compliance. Whereas the Greensboro City Council appreciates their hard work and recognizes the valuable service they provide to the community. And now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Greensboro that it does hereby declare the week of October 10th through October 16th, 2021 as Code Enforcement Officers Appreciation Week in the City of Greensboro, North Carolina. The Greensboro City Council recognizes the efforts of the Greensboro Neighborhood Development Code Enforcement Officers for their positive impact they have on our community, and City Council encourages residents to thank a code enforcement officer for all they do to keep our city clean and safe. Move the item.
Second.
And seconded by Mr. Holston. Mrs. Hightower?
Yes.
Dr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Outling?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurm?
Yes.
Mrs. Abuzawader?
Yes.
Mr. Holston?
Yes.
And I am a yes. That passes 8-0.
Madam Mayor, I believe that there are members that would like to speak.
We do. I think we see the head of neighborhood development, Michelle Kennedy, who is no stranger to this format. And we see Troy and his great team with him as well. So all yours.
So I just, on behalf of the Neighborhood Development Department, I want to say it's nice to be at a council meeting from this side of the dais. And I'm going to hand it over to Troy. And I think Brian Sims is going to accept on behalf of our inspections.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Councilperson Thurman, and City Council members for recognizing our role in the community and allowing us to inspire change and positive impact lives in this great city of Greensboro.
Thank you. I know that we all appreciate how much work code enforcement does. It's always under very difficult circumstances, but it's, you know, you help people get in a more stable position. I know that it's been very difficult this year with COVID and being able to carry out the inspections and also the meetings that are so important. So we just want to say we thank you very much for all of your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now we move on to the public comment portion of our meeting. The first speaker is Jason McElvey or McElvey. Madam Clerk, did he sign on?
Yes, ma'am. It appears that he has left the meeting though, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We have Russell Rearton and Latarsha Miller. Your microphone is off.
Oh, I apologize for that. Thank y'all for having us, Madam Mayor, the rest of the council meeting. My name is Russell Brereton. I'm the founder of a nonprofit organization called We Got You. Within 2 months, we created the beautiful organization. Within that 2 months, we had 2 fundraisers, a 3-on-3 basketball tournament, and North Community Outreach. Coming up to these events, we realized that these kids just don't trust us. And we believe that is due to lack of resources, which is creating the inconsistency. So we already had organizations from Winston-Salem reach out to us to join their team programs. We also excuse me, I got caught up for a second. We are willing to do the work. We just need the resources. I had 2 friends that got killed through gun violence. One is still in the wheelchair, you know. So we are really here to do the work. We just need the resources. So I just ask, please help us, help you, so we can help them.
And also, we did come to the city council a few months ago before we started the event. I don't know if some of you remember us. I'm Russell's sister, Latasha. And we came in, we did get NC Works, came out to the event. They had a truck there. Fox 8 News was there also as well. We did reach out to our police department, asking for some type of police presence there just to keep the peace. We never got a phone call. We went up to our local precincts. We never got any feedback back. And we just look at it as our children need help. When we spoke to some of those children out there at the tournament, they were letting us know that people always say they're going to come and help. They don't come back. They don't show up. That is why they don't trust people trying to help them. But these children need help. Those at-risk youth, 12 to 18. I did a lot of research. I have sat in our juvenile court over at Guilford County. We are in trouble. Those kids need an outlet and they need some help. We are doing everything we can, but we can't do it alone. Those people invited us to Winston-Salem after they seen our 2 broadcasts on the news. After the Mount Tabor shooting, they want us to come down and help with their teens. Well, we don't mind doing that, but we want to help our city, the city we live in, and we like to have some of those same resources too. So if anyone has any information or anything you can do to help us help these children, please let us know. That park we were at, those kids are out there every weekend. We would love to help them out at Windsor Rec Center. Those basketball courts are so old. The gates are rusted. It's got to be something we can do to help those teens, even if it's not just basketball, softball. There were girls who showed up out there that wanted to play basketball and softball and baseball. They don't have the resources others do. And I think we can help. We just need a little resources from our city to make that happen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and we appreciate your hard work and the noble cause that you have. Mr. Bill Marshburn?
Madam Mayor, one thing before I begin, I'm wondering why.
Could you flip your screen?
Well, I don't know how. I don't know why it's upside down.
Well,
sorry about that.
Okay.
I was wondering why July, August, and September city council meeting videos aren't available. If you could check into that, I'd appreciate it.
They are available.
Well, not on the site, or at least they haven't been for, well, those months. I called the I called the Melvin building, and a fellow put me on how to do it, but I never was successful, and they're still not shown. Well, I haven't checked today where they normally are. Any event,
let me just say that the link has changed, and maybe you're looking in the wrong spot. But if you go to the city's webpage and up on the top, it says council meetings, click on that. And it shows past council meetings, and that's where all the videos are.
Yeah, and then I was told to go down and click live feed, but it never really worked for me. So why not just put them back where you normally have them? I think that would be a good idea. But in any event, I won't carry on more about that. Unless you need to comment more, of course. Go ahead. All right. May I begin now? I will. In my 3-minute speaker from the floor in January and April, Mayor Vaughn said she disagreed with the facts I laid out. She found the facts disagreeable to her stance on COVID mandates. She made no comment on whether the information supplied was factual or not, because any cognizant human being would, could, and should view the indisputable facts. Now, Mrs. Abusawaiter, your request for a resolution for a resettlement for Afghan refugees. Did you think of a resolution condemning the colossal ineptness that caused the refugees being here? Did you think of a resolution for the homeless people who camped at the back wall of the building you were in and months later were removed? What about a resolution for the 80,000 illegal migrants pouring across our southern border and with 100,000 more on the way? Financed by whom? They were bussed into the border. The migration being after the presidential actor invited them in. How about a resolution condemning the fall of our ally Australia as a democracy, condemning the wanton violence of their despised tyrannical regional governments, using violent force against disarmed, unarmed, peaceful people? Why no sister city? We have one in China. How about that, Miss Goody Two-Shoes, if that is what you are trying to be? That is my sentiment to the lot of you on the council. The county commissioners voted themselves our health care givers, and later the majority voted to kill us off with inoculations. They were not misguided by false information. They selected false information. The world's economy is being destroyed locally here by the threat of arbitrary astronomical fines. We are being set against each other, vaxxed and unvaxxed. We are all victims of the most grievous transgression, the violation
30
of the Nuremberg
seconds.
Code. For instituting inoculations, the Commission and Council received printed out of thin air blood money from the federal government. You know, the one that pillaged the South in the War of Northern Yankee aggression. The Yankees were a separate group from the Northern citizenry, be it noted. Remember the phrase from foreign countries, Yankee go home? It wasn't Americans go home. To anyone listening, everyone is going to get COVID. We are truly...
Time has expired.
Well, I'll finish it off at another time. Thank you.
Did the mayor get kicked off?
I don't know.
No, I'm here. I said Mr. Shamblin.
Sorry, we didn't hear you. I didn't hear you.
I didn't hear you.
Okay.
I'm sorry. My name is Bruce Chambers. And by the way, good evening to everyone, Madam Mayor and all the council members. My name is Bruce Chambers. I reside at 12 Wimbledon Lane, Greensboro, North Carolina. I've lived here for 21 years, and in the 21 years that I've lived here, it was a church constructed in the back of my house. As you can see the building, if you look at the video in the back, it was a church constructed there. First, it was the Evangel Fellowship, then it was Pastor Woodson, and now it's Impact Church. And somehow this church has opened a business for autistic children, and they have built a playground in my backyard, which is 20 feet from my fence. And every day I hear children screaming and yelling, and the instructors screaming and yelling with them. There is no peace in my house. Also, there's a gymnasium located directly in the back of my house, which is a fabricated building. It has no sound barrier or anything in it. But they have to play loud music, bass music, to play basketball, which is also a nuisance to myself, my neighbors, and I'm speaking on behalf of my neighbors. I've written the city I've called code enforcement. I've written District 2 council person. I've called the police, but the police said when they get there, it's not loud or no sound, so there's nothing they can do. And I know that it's on the bottom of police response, as I used to be a police. And so it has become an everyday nuisance to me and my neighbors. I went over and talked to them. They stopped for a while, not the children. And I don't know why they would put a playground directly in the back of the community houses when they have all that room on the side and in the front. And I had experience with autism children in my family. And I know they can get rambunctious, they can get loud. But when I hear the instructors yelling as well as the children, I sit in my sunroom and I'm constantly ran out of there because I can't stand the noise. When I'm sleeping upstairs in my bed, I hear bass. This is not during church hours. I understand noise during church hours.
Seconds.
But this is everyday event. And I would just like for something to happen or get feedback from someone, because I've written all these people and I have not heard anything from them. Thank you, and y'all have a blessed day.
Thank you. The next speaker is Marcia Fouch.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Just hoping my dog will bear with me here. Good evening. My name is Marcia Fouch and I reside in Greensboro. I'm here once again to talk to you about the Marcus Smith case. Members of the community have repeatedly come to you and asked for you to settle the Smith civil lawsuit, but there's been no movement other than to spend more than $1 million of taxpayer money on private lawyers. On September 2nd, a coalition of groups sent a letter to the Department of Justice requesting a federal investigation into the patterns and practices of the Greensboro Police Department and the city for inadequate supervision, discipline, and training. I'm pretty much at a loss for words, but I feel to be silent would be to be complicit in the cover-up and modern-day lynching of Marcus Smith. There are videos of 50 incidents of maximum restraint, commonly called hog tying, taking in the 9 months prior to Marcus Smith's death, which show a pattern and practice of hog tying people. The reason the city has given for not releasing these tapes is because they include nudity and people having mental health breakdowns, among other things. In one instance, a veteran officer says that every time he uses a rip hobble, which is used to hog tie people, he has to get a new one because it's covered in blood. This is really worse than I imagined. The longer this case goes on, the worse it looks for the city. And I'm at a loss to understand how this system works in the favor of the people of Greensboro. We pay taxes which fund the Greensboro Police Department. We elect you to oversee the police department. When there's police abuse of power, your response is to hire private lawyers to defend the police. I'd like to yield the remainder of my time to anyone on the city council who can explain how this system benefits the community.
Okay, our next speaker is Christine Hopfner.
Hoffner.
Hopfner, I'm sorry.
It's okay. So you can hear me?
Yes.
I'm Christine Hoffner. I moved to Greensboro a few months before the second anniversary of Marcus Smith's homicide by the Greensboro Police Department. I was shocked to hear that homicide and have been shocked again every few months as the city's lawyers bring another outrage against both the Smith family and Greensboro residents as they enable city council to avoid its responsibilities. This summer, we learned that city council was unaware of nigh on 300 hog tyings by GPD over 4 years. This is clearly the kind of lack of city oversight the Smith family points out is responsible for Mr. Smith's death. Not only did the council not know GPD was practicing racist, brutal hog tying, they did not know GPD was using the rip hobble device to hog tie, contrary to the company's explicit instructions. That's some serious indication of the city's inadequate supervision, discipline, and training. The council's failure of oversight is also shown by their insistence on remaining ignorant of the worst instances of the 50 hog tyings that occurred in just the 9 months before Mr. Smith was killed. Even I know the council could view these incidents individually, so to say they can't view 176 hours of video is a real flimsy excuse. Even if the body camera videos aren't released, as the city persists in fighting the case, they must know that descriptions of those most brutal hog tyings are getting out. A month ago, 20-some local groups sent the descriptions to the Department of Justice. So all those folks here sure know the truth now. And now folks in Washington do too, and action by the federal government gets national attention. In some, City Council's ongoing fight against the Smith family, costing over $1 million so far, shows how blind they are to GPD's actions. If City Council knew how brutal and racist GPD's hog tying and overall practices have been, they would know how solid the Smiths case is. The City Council's blindness nails its negligence in overseeing GPD. Keeping in mind elections are coming up, I'm looking for City Council members to take a stand now to acknowledge and to commit to correct the overall egregious behavior, including cover-ups by both GPD and the City Council itself. This would mean the city will enforce policies that regulate police abuse of power and hold police who violate
30 seconds.
and substantively settle the Smiths family case to show that Greensboro can live up to its righteous legacy of civil rights and affirm today that Black Lives Matter.
Thank you. I believe our last speaker is Paulette Montgomery.
May you have the
Hi, good evening. I am Paulette Montgomery, a lifelong resident of Greensboro. It has now been over 3 years since Marcus Smith's life was taken by Greensboro police officers. Over $1 million in taxpayer dollars to defend this case when all evidence shows overwhelming culpability by the Greensboro Police Department. I'm here to address some of the reasons we're having to request help from the Department of Justice. Of the 50 body-worn camera incidents produced in this case, 76% of victims were Black, while the vast majority of the hog tires, our GPD, were white at 84%. 48% of the victims were women, and the majority were hogtied by male officers or by a majority of white officers. Let me read a couple of officers' comments. A veteran officer said that just about every time he's had to use a rip hobble, he has to go back and get another one because it's covered in blood. Okay, take a minute to think about that. You have someone tied so tightly that they are bleeding enough to soak the rip hobble. Really? So the Black woman that was hogtied with her legs at less than 90 degrees from her body, on the ground for more than 5 minutes, with her breasts exposed, yelling and screaming in pain, did they have to turn that rip hobble in too because it was so bloody? Where has the common decency gone in this city? Or did the officers enjoy the humiliation they caused our neighbor and community member while her breasts were fully exposed? What about the pregnant Black female that was hogtied for more than 2 minutes while the officer had his knee on her neck? Just like George Floyd, this woman is pregnant, placed on her stomach with an officer's knee to her neck, having air supply cut off to her unborn child while she is being rip hobbled. What if that was your daughter, sister, or mother? Will the child have any issues at birth from this hog tying? Maybe, maybe not. We'll never know. And that's just completely shameful. Or the elderly woman suffering from dementia that was rip hobbled while she repeatedly complained that the officers were hurting her arms. She is crying on the ground, face down, with her dress up throughout the entire rip hobbling. Once again, think about it, Mayor Vaughn. What if this was your mom, or maybe your mom, Mr. Watts? Is this police brutality okay for your family members? I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be, so why is it okay for the rest of this community? Greensboro Assistant City Manager and former GPD Commander Nathaniel Trey Davis recently admitted that there was some racial disproportionality as to who was hogtied, while former Chief Scott admitted to supervising 125 to 200 hog ties.
30 seconds.
Our current chief, Ron James, who was the command supervisor over the officer who hogtied Marcus Smith, approved the report that exonerated those officers. The cover up is so blatant, it's hard to believe council is still towing this line. And honestly, is this the Greensboro you really want? Appears we have tons of money for business development, but not for our actual community members that need housing, food, and mental health support. Not sure either how y'all sleep at night, knowing this is how you run your city. Business
Time
over
has
people.
expired.
That should be the new slogan of Greensboro. Love to hear what Mr. Holston thinks about all of this. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say something. It was said earlier that we could have watched the videos when we wanted to. In fact, we only got the ability to watch the videos, I believe, last week. Some of us have watched some of the videos, and I would caution the speakers to just reiterate things that the plaintiff attorneys have said. None of you have seen the videos, and all you are doing is reading the plaintiff's words. And that's all I'm going to comment at this point.
So, Madam Mayor, you kind of conveyed some of my concern because, and you answered the question because I'm wondering, has anybody seen these videos outside of, we had to go to court to be able to see them, and if they have, how do they see them?
Yeah, I would say if any of the three speakers have seen the videos, please feel free to tell us that.
Right. I would really like to know because
to my knowledge, no one has seen the videos. No one, including you guys until last week, which is piss poor.
No, because that is when we had the ability from the judge to watch them. And I would say, I would caution people who just parrot the words of the plaintiff's attorneys. So now we can move on to our consent agenda, items E1 through E10.
Move the consent agenda.
Moved by Dr. Wells, seconded by Mrs. Hightower. Mrs. Hightower?
Yes.
Dr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Outling?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurm?
Yes.
Mrs. Abuzawader?
Yes.
Mr. Holston?
Yes.
And I am a yes. The consent agenda passes 8-0. We would now move on to, are there any board and commission appointments today? Mrs. Thurm?
I have one. I would like to appoint Byron Robinson to the Library Commission to replace Jim Bennett, who resigned recently.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
And I guess we will say all in favor by affirmation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
That passes. Any other board appointments? All right, then quickly, if there are council comments, Mrs. Hightower?
No, I don't think so. Well, it's been a slow week. That's all I'll say, I guess. I am still proud of A&T though, for the athletes representing us, bringing back gold medals. I think they were going to show us the gold medals. Hopefully I'll get to go see them personally and touch one of them. Might be the closest I'll ever get to an Olympic gold medal, doing anything sports-wise. So I wanted to say that. We also attended A&T, who opened up, I believe, the pavilion on the farm. It is a new building. And I think we attended that a couple weeks ago. Did we do that? Did we talk about that one the last time, Goldie?
Yes, we did.
Okay, I can't remember if we did. I can't remember. All these things are running together. So I would say to everybody, please out there, if you're not vaccinated, please go get vaccinated. I am very concerned about the health of my people, my Black people who are not getting vaccinated and who are making statements that have no scientific proof. A lady told me that one vaccine put metals in your body, and she actually talked about the vaccine that I took. So I said, I'm still waiting to attract other metals. I haven't done that yet. And so I kind of dispelled that misnomer, if you will, but there are things out there being said that are very concerning to me. And if you are, a chemist and biologist and, you don't know the compositions of the drug, I would really caution you to be careful on how you spread rumors. So, but please investigate. Someone told me the other day, they asked somebody who came to them to the doctor's office, said, I want a cortisone shot. But yet they went to get a cortisone shot, but it wouldn't take the vaccine. And wanted to know, well, if you don't know what's in the cortisone shot and you take that, you just concerned that you wouldn't take the vaccine and protect somebody's health. So I just ask my community to please wear your mask and social distance, but get that vaccination also. It will protect that 92-year-old lady that's scared to leave her home anymore. And so I would say, please do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wells.
I'd like to thank those of you who attended the District 2 town hall last Thursday night, my fellow councilmen that tuned in and made comments because it made it even better. And on this Thursday, I think we did learn a lot. And on this Thursday night at 7, the Concerned Citizens of Northeast Greensboro will be having their monthly meeting, and they are going to deal with redistricting and voting, reparation, and of course the police report. So if you can, I'll be sending out those the link, the Zoom link for the Concerned Citizens of Northeast Greensboro. And then on the 9th, which is Saturday, we're going to have Love Your Block, and it's a neighborhood cleanup for the folks who live in Nealtown, Kings Forest, Woodmere Park, and we're asked to bring all your hazardous waste and bulk items to the truck, and the trucks will be located at 2500 Phillips Avenue. It's in the parking lot of the baseball field at McGirt-Horton Library. So across from McGirt-Horton Library. So if you have those things that you need to get rid of, old tires and paint and pesticides and TVs and computers, bring them on Saturday from 8 until 3. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Wells. Mr. Outling?
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to share that the next Java with Justin will be on October 15th at noon via Facebook Live at J Outling being the handle. As many council members obviously know, for the course of the past many years, I've hosted a weekly town hall drop-in session. It's an opportunity for community members to come together, discuss any topic they would like relating to the city of Greensboro. So I encourage people to tune in on October 15th at J Outling on Facebook Live, ask their questions, hear about things that might be of importance at the next Greensboro City Council meeting a couple Tuesdays from now. So thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Hoffman?
I would just like to thank Greensboro Beautiful and the city as well for a really wonderful art in the Arboretum on Sunday. It's a beautiful fall day, of course, and a great turnout. So again, a wonderful event here in the city.
Thank you. Mrs. Thurm?
The only comment I have is about an upcoming event this coming Sunday, October 10th. The New Garden Guilford College Community Alliance is leading a ghost walk at 3 p.m. along a stretch of Friendly Avenue. It will be on the sidewalks, but they're going to highlight some of the historic sites that currently exist and existed at one point in time along that walkway. The walk will be led by Max Carter and David Fagans, and they'll be starting at the Kimry Hayworth House at 5307 West Friendly Avenue. So anybody that would like is welcome to attend that walk. Mr. Carter had asked that I share that with the public. Other than that, I'm done. Yes, the Sunday was a wonderful event. Thank you, Arts Greensboro. Greensboro Beautiful for the Arts in the Arboretum. Sorry.
Thank you. Mrs. Abusawader?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of things. This week is also Mental Health Awareness Week. And on Thursday, October 7th, if you can remember to wear green, that is the color of Mental Health Awareness Week. And it's just 1 week. And I was contacted yesterday by a service provider and asked if I would mention that because it would mean a lot to them if council members, take your photo and send it to Jody Lorenzo at the Sanctuary House. She would really appreciate that. Last evening, as was mentioned, was the purple tree lighting. Wanted to thank Dr. Wells and Councilmember Hoffman for coming. I did find out later that unfortunately somehow the invitation did not get out to all councils. So for that, I will apologize and we'll make sure it is in the future. It's always very well attended and very memorable moment when the trees and Green Street Deco light up purple to bring awareness to domestic violence. So thank you all for that support. The last thing I'll mention, I think many of you remember that Mark Friedman was one of those murdered in Greensboro. His family set up a foundation, Mark's Angel Foundation. Over the weekend, they had a gala. Monday, they had a golf tournament. They raised over $25,000 for Crime Stoppers. And I would certainly like to challenge other foundations. The goal of Crime Stoppers, we just raised with the city council, each of you voting to give funds, but we would love to see more funds in and hopefully someday raise those rewards to $7,500 or $10,000. But I do want to give a special shout out to them for working so hard in memory of Mark. His reward right now is up to $23,000. And that is being sent out on social media and on the Greensboro-Guilford County Crime Stoppers site. So just wanted to make everybody aware of that went on over the weekend. And it was truly, truly a wonderful memory for him. I did want to say too, the couple of the mothers standing against gun violence came to the event. They were guests of the Mark's Angel Foundation. And they spoke very eloquently about how the grassroots people going in neighborhoods is really going to be what it takes. They commended Crime Stoppers, GPD. So very memorable weekend. So thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all I have.
And Mary Kay, as you always say, in the 40 years that Crime Stoppers has been in business.
Yes, in Greensboro, Crime Stoppers has been in business for 40 years, and not one person who called in a tip has ever been identified by anyone, the police, staff, no one. People are given a code number, and it is up to them to call back in and see about the status of that case. Then they are given a code number to go to a non-specified financial institution. None of us are there. There is no staff from Crime Stoppers or police there, and they are given their reward money. And it looks like, every time we do the walks, as the mayor knows, she's been on many of those, we usually get tips in right after those walks. So Crime Stoppers really is an asset to this community, and it's all over the nation. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Holston?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to reiterate a little bit of what Councilwoman Hightower said about vaccines. Also want our residents not to forget about those third doses and those booster shots and also those flu shots. All those will have a positive public health outcome for all of us, which will help to drive our economic development. It will help us to get back and to stay back at school, at work, and at play. I also want to thank Councilwoman Wells for the hospitality and the welcome and allowed me a little bit of time at her town hall. Thank you so very much. I do appreciate it. And Madam Mayor, that completes it.
Thank you.
And Madam Mayor, before you start your comments, and I just turned my notepad over and saw this very important note. It's not a bad note. I'm going to have a town hall meeting, District 1. We'll have a town hall meeting October 28th at 6. And so there'll be more information forthcoming, but we've already set the topics. The hot topics are rezoning, because we know that has really been a touchy subject in Southeast Greensboro. I think we all understand that. And to deal with comments made and things said that need to be verified. And but it will also be around economic development. What is economic development? What does it mean when we say it? Because it's a loose term, we say a lot. And yet sometimes it really has no substance to it. What does it mean for a community? And so we will be focusing on really a couple of those items. Mr. Holston, I'll be filling you in more. District 1 is something that we will be talking about. You certainly be invited to be part of that, and all council is, but you particularly, as you reside in District 1, understand some of our challenges too from that regard. So that is forthcoming. So I just did want to bring that up and not forget it before I left here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to reinforce the comments about vaccines, 54% of Guilford County has received both shots. Another 4% on top of that has received one shot. So we are slowly inching up, but we've got a long way to go, and shots are still very readily available. I've had my 2 Pfizer. As soon as I can get the booster, I will. I personally didn't have any ill effects. And I'm grateful that we have the partnerships that we do with Guilford County Health Department and Cone Health and our other nonprofits to make getting the shots so easy. I want to remind council of the change in date in November, that we're moving the meeting to the 17th. Instead of the 16th, we're going to have the meeting that Wednesday. And I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that the ARP application is online. If people are interested in, they can still do the simulator, but if they have a business, a nonprofit that they think are worthy of the ARP funds, the application is online. There will be opportunities for people to meet with staff either remotely or in person. The matrix is online as well, and it will be a hard cutoff of November 5th. So if anybody is thinking about, funding, they should look at the website now. Mr. City Manager, do you have anything?
Not this evening.
Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, Mayor, I do have one comment I want to make. I'd like to reinforce your comments really about accepting what the plaintiff's counsel have said about the video without any pause. Context is everything. Certainly having to restrain a citizen is never going to be an attractive situation, but the context is what provides an understanding of why it became necessary. These restraints are used generally when a restraint is needed to protect the person, the officer, or other members of the public. Plaintiffs do not speak to context in any of the examples that they refer to in their pleadings or the letter that has been referenced. I also wonder if all the folks who signed that letter had the benefit of seeing the actual video and understood the context of each of the situations to which plaintiffs refer. If so, I'd like to understand how they got to see those videos when we had to go to court to get the right for counsel to be able to see them. But if not, then I think it's interesting that they would give plaintiffs' counsel the benefit of the doubt that what they have referred to as a fair depiction, but not those who serve in the public interest.
Very good. Right on point. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate your comments.
Sure.
If there is no further comments, do I have a motion to adjourn without objection?
So
Motion
moved.
to adjourn.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.